courtiers rise and fall. This world has many tides, but brightly beams upon them all. The star o'erly burns on fame's blazoned page enshrined. His name is foremost now, and many a costly wreath's been twined to grace his honest brow. And Scotland's heart expands with joy whene'er the day returns that gave the world its peasant boy. Immortal Robbie binds. Let kings and courtiers rise and fall. This world has many times, but brightly beams upon them all. The star o'Robbie burns. Well sung, everyone. Thank you.
Fair fall, your honest sonsie face, great chieftain o' the puddin' race. Abin the maw ye tak your place, pinch, tripe or therm. We'll a reward o' a grace, as lang's my arm. The groaning trencher there ye fill, your hurdies like a distant hill. Your pain would help to mend a mill in time of need, while through your pores the dews distil, like amber bead. His knife, see rusted labour dicht, and cut ye up with ready slicht, trenching your gushing entrails brick like on a ditch. And then, oh, what a glorious sight! Warm reeking, rich. Then horn for horn they'll stretch and strive, they'll take the hindmost on they'll drive, to law their wheel swap kites belive, bent light drums. And all goodman, Miss lights derive, bethank it tums. Is there the tour his French ragour, olio that would stour sue, a frick a say would mak her spew with perfect scunner, looks down with sneering, scornful view on sicker dinner. Bear deal, see him out his trash, as feckless as a withered rash, his spinel shank a good whip lash, his knee a knit, through bloody flood there fail to dash, oh how unfit. But mark the rustic haggis fade, the trembling earth resounds his tread, clapping his wallen eva blade, he'll make it whistle, and legs and arms and heads will snade, like taps a thistle. Ye poor from mark mankind their care, and dish them out their bill of fare. All Scotland wants nae skinking wares at jops and luggies, but give ye wish a grateful prayer, gie her a haggis.
For the Lord, vast nuts and stairs and all that, though hundreds worship at his word, he's but a coof for all that. For all that and all that, it's coming yet for all that. That man to man the world o'er shall brothers be for all that. Thank you very much.
This is a warm-up for Wullie. He has 5 suppers from Wednesday to Sunday next week. Burns Cottage, Journeyman Lodge, Edinburgh, Newcombe at Burns Club, back to Burns Cottage. He's a very busy man indeed, and we are lucky to have him here tonight. Wullie was one of the contributors on our Zoom supper a couple of years ago during lockdown. Ladies and gentlemen, Wullie Dick.
Good after that, I'm looking for it to hear myself. Mr. Chairman, top table guests, ladies and gentlemen, hello! Hello! Man, it's great to be back at Burns Suppers, is it no?
Aye.
And can I just say how well yous are all looking? I'm going away back to 2 years ago, was it? 2 years ago we had the Zoom Burns Supper, and when we all tuned in, just so I could watch you eating your dinner, it was fantastic. But here we are, we're all out with our suits on and no sitting doing a supper with just our pants and a shirt and tie. Personally, I thought it was a coat on. But maybe no, when you see that weather out there, is that no something else? They're forecasting a lot of snow, and the government advice was that all travellers should have a shovel with them, 24 hours food supply, a blanket and a torch. You should have seen me standing waiting in the bus going to my work in the morning. And as I say, frosty out there the night, isn't it? Frosty. Surprise to a lot of folk, no surprise to me. Because after the Burns Supper and the Zoom, and we were just getting to that bit where everybody was clicking off, and I had said to Ian, I says, see if you ever need me to speak at your Thornhill Rotary Burns Club again, I would come without a doubt. And just as I went to click it off, I heard him say, it'll be a cold day in hell before we have him back. 2 days of frost. But aye, it is great, it's great. Trevor was telling me that when he come in tonight, there's Jill sitting in the end of the bed, just in her drawers and her bra, breaking her wee heart, so she was. Breaking her wee heart. He goes over and he gives her a wee cuddle. He says, oh, what's wrong, Jill? What's wrong? She says, what's wrong? We're going to this Burns supper tonight, and I've got nothing to wear. He says, what do you mean you've got nothing to wear? And he goes over and he throws open the wardrobe. He says, look, you've got a lovely yellow dress. You've got a lovely blue dress. You've got a lovely pink dress. You've got that wee sexy black dress. You've got a lovely pair of leather trousers. Oh, you wore them tonight. He says, look, you've got that lovely wee tartan dress. Aye, Kevin, you've got a lovely... He says, Kevin, what are you doing in my wife's wardrobe? And she's sitting in the end of the bed, just in her drawers and her bra. Kevin says, well, if you don't ken, Kevin works for John Deere, but things has been a wee bit slack recently, so it has. And he's to known another job. And Trevor says, on what job are you taking on? He says, I'm now a moth inspector for John Deere as well. He says, a moth inspector? And he's like, he says, but Kevin, you've got no clothes on. He went, oh, the hungry wee buggers that they are. And it's great to see here, Kate's here too. Everybody ken Kate?
Yes.
Kate's a lovely lassie, so she is. Only that doesn't Kate. Oh, who hasn't been at a Burns supper before? So it's just the four of us. Welcome to the Burns supper. I hope you have a great night. If anybody tells you this is not what an immortal memory is like, don't believe them. In my head, that's exactly how it should go. But for them that doesn't ken Kate, Kate is a lassie that. See if you gave her £100 and you didn't see her for 10 years, by Christ, it'd be worth it. But here we are. Robert Burns has now been revered and celebrated all over the world. There are 200 memorials to him all over the globe, and his words are now translated into 41 languages. Portuguese, Finnish, Gaelic being the latest. Burns remains celebrated even now, 227 years after his death, quite simply by the will of the people. Not only here in Scotland, but expatriate Scots who have been forced to emigrate to places like Australia, New Zealand, North America and Canada, as Burns wrote. They're up among the lakes and seas, they'll mark what laws and rules they please. Some daring Hancock or a Franklin will set their Highland blood their ankling. Or some Washington again will head them, or some Montgomery fearless lead them. But Burns suppers have also been held in diverse locations like Alaska, Argentina, Bangladesh, China, and even Auchinleck. I was once at a wedding in Auchinleck. As if you could marry your sister. Suffice to say, he's honoured where his tender moving philosophies find fertile ground among intelligent people. No other poet or writer in modern times has enjoyed such international acclaim. 'Twas in that place of Scotland's Isle that bears the name of Old King Coil upon a bonny day in June, when wearing through the afternoon, twa dugs that weren't thrang at hame forgathered in Sapona time. You'll get a few verses for the twa dugs. In my opinion, a very important poem in Robert Burns's life is this is the first verse for the first poem in his first book, the Kilmarnock edition, or Poems Chiefly in the Scottish Dialect. A book that changed Burns's life, a book that changed our life, because if it wasn't for the success of this book, that is what kept him here in Scotland and not to emigrate away to Jamaica. Yet it was following that critical acclaim that the 27-year-old Burns was keen to explore the possibilities, to capitalise further in his work, that on the 27th of November in 1786, he set off from Misgill in horseback in a borrowed horse for Edinburgh. In Edinburgh, and within a few days, he was writing back to Ayrshire to tell of the remarkable reception he was receiving for the great and the good. This pushing Burns on to complete his second edition of his works. And bolstered by the rave literary reviews of the Kilmarnock edition, Burns accentuated further the potential success of his popular and solid performances at social events. So much more oftener than no. There's a right good Scotian, isn't it? The list of subscribers for the Edinburgh edition reads like the who's who, not only for the nobility in Edinburgh, but for the rest of Scotland, and indeed far beyond. Then Burns formulated the plan of which tours that would take him through Scotland's finest country and indeed into England. Edinburgh, where 3/4 of the address to the haggis was written. The first verse and the last verse were both written in Mauchline. On the 5th of May in 1787, Burns left Edinburgh on horseback to tour with his young friend Robert Ainslie of Duns on a tour of the borders of Scotland and England. And it is clear he had a very particular motive in the desire and the need to collect orders for and to distribute the Edinburgh edition of his poems published by Creech only a few weeks earlier. And also with an eye on his future employment. He was keen to look over a farm and land in the company of trusted experts, in particular a couple of farms in Nisdale belonging to Patrick Miller of Dalswinton. But I'll speak more about Patrick Miller in my second hour. Robert Ainslie. He was the son of a land steward in Lord Douglas's Berwickshire estate. Ainslie was born in Duns, and when Robert Burns met him in Edinburgh in 87, he was a 21-year-old clerk in a law office. He was a Freemason and a member of the Crackallan Fencibles. His carefree disposition and his zestful pleasure in wine, women, and the poet's songs endeared him to Burns. And on the 19th of May, during their border tour, they were made Royal Archmasons. Ainslie eventually married in 1798 and had a son and several daughters, and divided his time between Hill Street in Edinburgh and his estate in Eddingham at Dalbeattie. In later years, he grew increasingly pious and became an elder in the kit. So, time for you yet, Ian, so there is. If you clean up your act, anyway. This border tour, it taken in places like Duns, Coldstream, Wullie, Alnwick, Morpeth, Newcastle, Hexham, Longtown, Carlisle, and then back to Scotland through Annan and back to Dumfries. And I probably should have mentioned the Tweed, that glorious river Tweed, clear and majestic with its fine bridge. This is probably the first vast river Burns had seen, although the Clyde at Hindford Brig is nae small drink of water either. But Burns, like his hero William Wallace, ever the Tweed and onto English soil. Imagine a ploughboy for Ayrshire venturing into England just for a jaunt in his trusty horse, Jenny Geddes. And he later went on to write about Jenny Geddes. Jenny, my Pegasean pride, dowie she saunters down this side, and aye the westland luck she throws, while tears hap o'er her all brown nose. Was it for this? We cannae care that bore a bard through mony a shire, at house her hillocks never stumbled, or late or early never grumbled. Lovely, lovely words just about his horse. And I should have probably mentioned that Burns was accompanied in his border tour by two border farmers, Thomas Hood and Gilbert Kerr. These men were with him all the way to Longtown, and they passed by many important sites of interest. Castles, abbeys, the Roman road next to Hadrian's Wall, and of course Flodden. Flodden, where the Scottish army had its heaviest defeat ever at the hands of the All-Enemy in 1513, when King James IV and most of the male lifeblood of the Scottish nation were slaughtered by the well-disciplined troops of Thomas Howard, the Earl of Surrey. The King, 2 bishops, 10 earls, 19 barons, and hundreds of lairds were slain. My own laird, where I used to work at Carnell, his ancestors been one of them. Thornhill is in the border with Loch Lee. That been one of the tens of thousands dead Scots that day. And yet Burns never mentions this in a letter, in a song, or even in a journal. Instead, he mentions the crops, the lay of the land. Aye, Burns was a farmer. And I should tell you, when I first went to Thornhill, I got interviewed with Old Laird, and I went in, and the first thing he says was, "Can you drive a forklift truck?" And he didn't say it like that, actually. He said, "Tell me, Willie, can you drive a forklift truck?" I said, "Oh, aye. He said, "Tell me, Willie, can you make tea?" I said, "Hold on, what size is this teapot?" There is ample evidence that Robert Burns was regarded as a good and progressive farmer. His attitude towards farm stock, both sheep and cattle, was one of innovation. And it's abundantly clear that he cared sincerely, almost passionately, for the welfare in his stock, his horses and working dogs. He viewed them more as fellow creatures on earth, sharing the traumas of food shortages and cold weather. And finally, no, it's not really finally, but I just thought I'd give you hope. I'm going to sit down. Primitive implements drawn by animals ensured long, exhausting days in the field. Poorly clothed against the elements with equally poor, cold and damp conditions within the dwelling. That almost certainly led to the health problems of colic and rheumatic fever that was ever present for an early age. And as in the case with all working farmers, life becomes entwined, regulated and even dominated by the seasons. Burns, although at times clearly exhausted by the physical work, never seemed to tire of observing nature and man in all its changing roles. Did you all understand that so far? Because there's questions in a wee while. As for the first epistle to Laprake, Burns wrote, "While briers and woodbines budding green, and patricks screeching loud at een, and morning pussy," that's the hare, "the morning pussy wouldn't seem inspire my muse," just in case you're getting any ideas. All within the full range of the natural scene. Burns referred to the various natural elements in he mentioned them 2,880 references, unsurpassed by any poet then or since. And as I said earlier, Burns arrived in Dumfries, where he received honorary freedom of the town and met with Patrick Miller. Patrick Miller was an inventor, a banker, and eventually the poet's landlord at Ellersland. He was president of the Court of Session, that's the Court of Session, from 1787 to 89. And he started his career as a sailor, which stimulated a lasting interest in navigation. He later went on to become a banker in Edinburgh. Miller started extensive experiments in agriculture. He produced a threshing machine. He introduced the feeding of cattle and steamed potatoes. His interest in navigation led him to finance the construction of a steamboat which heralded the revolution in marine propulsion. This vessel first test sailed in Dalswinton Loch on October 1788, with Burns supposedly on board as a passenger. Many years later, the King of Sweden wrote to Patrick Miller for the building design with a desire to build his own steamship. In his payment, the King of Sweden sent Miller a packet of seeds to plant his land, as it had a similar environment to that of Sweden. That plant was turnip Swedes and was first grown in Dumfries. And within 10 years, it was growing throughout the whole of Britain. So, just for a quick recap, in case you fell asleep, we've mentioned the haggis, we've mentioned steamed tatties, turnip, whisky, we've mentioned Burns' good friendship. Ladies and gentlemen, does that not sound like a perfect Burns supper to use?
Yeah.
Burns has been woven into our very fabric of our national consciousness, along with his heroes, William Wallace and Robert the Bruce. And on a night like this, clubs, societies and kindred spirits drawn together by Robert Burns' shining ray to celebrate Caledonia's bard. Can I thank the Rotary Club most sincerely for asking me along here tonight. And I started with the twa dogs and I'll finish with the twa dogs. But now the sun was out of sicht and darker gloamings broke the night. The bum cloak hum with lazy drone. The kye stood routing aye the lone. Now as we each take off our several ways, let's resolve to meet back here some other day. Ladies and gentlemen, could I ask you to be upstanding and toast with me in the immortal memory of Robert Burns.
Immortal memory of Robert Burns.
May foes be strong and friends be slack, ilk action on he do it. May women on him turn her back, that ranks thee, Wullie Stewart. Oh, you're welcome, Wullie Stewart. You're welcome, Wullie Stewart. There's ne'er a flower that blooms in May, but Topsy welcomes thou art. You're welcome, Wullie Stewart. You're welcome, Wullie Stewart. There's ne'er a flower that blooms in May, that's half say welcomes thou art.
Reading tonight is known to you all. It was written down the road at Ellison. Tam O'Shanter, a tale. When Chapman Billies leave the street and Druithy neighbours meet, as market days are wearing late and folk begin to tack the gate, while we sit boozing at the nappy and getting foo and unco happy, we think na on the lang Scots miles, the mosses, waters, slaps and stiles that lie between us and our hame, where sits our sulky, sullen dame. Geln her bruise like gathering storm, nursing her wrath to keep it warm. This truth van honest Tam O'Shanter, as he frae ere nicht did canter, all dare from ne'er a tune surpasses, for honest men and bonny lasses. Oh, Tam, it's how but been so wise, it's ta'en thy name by Kate's advice. She told thee well there was a skellum, a blethering, blustering, drunken blellum, that frae November till October, I market day there was na sober. At Alcamelder wi' the miller, thou sat as long as thou had siller. The tibbrin egg was called a shoon, the smith and thee got roaring foon. But at the Lord's house, even on Sunday, they drank the curtain gin till Monday. She prophesies that later sin, they would be deep drunken doon, or catched wi' warlocks in the muck, by Allaways, old haunted kirk. Ah, gentle dames, it gars me great, to think how mony counsel sweet, how mony lengthened sage advices, the husband frae the wife despises. But to her tale, I market nicht, Tam had got planted Unkerrecht, fast by an ingle blazing finely, with Raymond swats that drank divinely, and at his elbow, Suitor Johnny, his ancient, trusty, drouthy crony. Tam lewed him like a very brother. They had been fou for weeks together. The night drave on with songs and clatter, night veil was growing better. The landlady and Tam grew gracious, with secret favours, sweet and precious. The suitor told his queerest stories, the landlord's laugh, was ready chorus. The storm without might rear and rustle, Tam didn't mind the storm a whistle. Care, mad to see a man so happy, and drown himself among the nappy. As bees flee hame with lazy treasure, the minutes winged their way with pleasure. Kings may be blessed, but Tam was glorious, o'er all the ills of life victorious. But pleasures are like poppy spread. You seize the flower, its bloom is shed, or like the snow falls in the river, a moment white, then melts forever. Or like the borealis race that flitter you can point the place, or like the rainbow's lovely form, vanishing amid the storm. Nae man can tether time nor tide, the hour approaches, Tam and ride, that tour on next black arch the keystane, that dreary hour Tam mounts his beast in, and sick a nicht he tacks a road in, as ne'er peer sinner was abroad in. The wind blew as 'twould blown its last, the rattling shores was on the blast, the speedy gleams the darkness swallowed, loud deep and long the thunder bellowed. That night, a child might understand, the deil had business on his hand. We'll mount it on his grey mare Meg, a better never lifted leg, Tam scalp it on through dub and mire, despising wind and rain and fire, whilst holding fast his good blue bonnet, whilst crooning o'er and all Scots sonnet, whilst glowering round with prudent cares, lest bogles catch him unawares. Kirkallaway was drawing nigh, where ghasts and hoolits nightly cry. By this time he was cross the ford, wherein the snow the chapman smoored, and past the birks and meikle stane, while drunken Charlie bracks neck bane, and through the whins and by the cairn, where hunters fun the murdoch bairn, and near the thorn abin the well, where Mungo's mother hanged herself. Before him the Doon pours all his floods, the Dublin storm roars through the woods, the lightnings flash from pole to pole, near and more near the thunders roll. When, glimmering through the groaning trees, Kirkallaway seemed in a blaze. Through all the beers of the beams were glancing, and loud resounded mirth and dancing. Inspiring bold John Barleycorn, with dangers thou canst smack a scorn, with tippenny, with fear nae evil, Wusqua bay will face the devil. The swats are reamed in Tammy's noddle, fair play, he cared na deals a boddle, but Maggie stood, sair astonished, dull by the heel and hand admonished. She ventured forward on the licht, and vow, Tam saw an uncasicht. Warlocks and witches and a dance, nae could tell young Brent you frae France, but hornpipes, jigstra, spies and reels, but life and metal in their heels. When at bunker in the east, there sat old Nick in shape of beast, a toozy type, black, grim and large, to give them music was his charge. He screwed the pipes and got them skirled till roof and rafters all did dirl. Coffin stood round, like coping pressed, the shod the dead in their last dresses, and by some devilish cantrip slicht, each in its gold horn held a licht, by which heroic Tam was able to note upon the haly table a murderer's banes with gibbet turns, twa span long wee and crescent bairns, a thief ne cutted frae a rape with his last gab, his gab did gape, 5 tomahawks with blood red rusted, 5 scimitars with murder crusted, a guard of which a babe had strangled, a knife a father's throat had mangled. When his ain son of life bereft, the grey hairs yet stuck to the heft. With mair horrible an offer, which even to name would be unlawful. As Tammy glowered, amazed and curious, the mirth and fun grew fast and furious. The piper loud and louder blew, the dancers quick and quicker flew, the reel to set, the cross to click it, till Kirkallaway swat and reek it, and coos her duddies to the wark, and link it at it in her sack. The Tam, Oh, Tam, had they been queens, all plump and strapping in their teens, their sacks instead of creasy flannin, been snow white, 1700 linen, their breeks in my only pair, the yins were plush or good blue hair, I wad again them off my hardies, for I blink o' the bonny birdies. But whether beldams, auld and droll, rigwiddy hags would spin a foal, louping and flinging on a crummock, it's a one I didn't turn my stomach. But Tam kent what was what fu brawly. There was, he won some wench in Wullie, that night enlisted in the corps, long after kenned in Carrickshire, for money a beastie did she shot, and perished money a bonny boat, and shoot both meikle corn and bear, and kept the countryside in fear. Her cutty sack, o' paisley harm, that while a lassie she had worn, and longitude, oh, though sorely scanty, it was her best, and she was vanty. Ah, little kenned thy reverent granny, that sack she coughed for her wee nanny, with 12 pound Scots, 'twas all her riches, would ever grace a dance o' witches. But hear my muse, her wingman care, sic flicks so far beyond her power, to sing her nanny lap and flang a supple jade she was and strang, and how Tam stood like ane bewitched, and thought his very een enriched, even Satan glowered and fit for fain, and hotched and blew with micht and main, till first she keep her sin another, Tam tint his reader and all together and rose out, well done, cutty sack! And in an instant, all was dark, and scarcely had he Maggie rallied, when out the hellish legion sallied. As bees was out angry fight when plundering herds assailed their bite, as open pussies mortal foes when pupshy starts before their nose, as eager runs the market crowd when catch the thief resounds aloud. So Maggie runs, the witches follow, with moaning and eldritch screeching hollow. O Tam, they'll get thy fairn, in hell they'll roast thee like a hern, in vain thy Kate awaits thy coming, it soon will be a woeful woman. Now do thy speedy utmost, Meg, and win the casey no the brig. There at the end of their tail may toss, a running stream they darena cross. But ere the casey she could make, the fainter tail she had to shake, for Nanny, far before the rest, hard upon noble Maggie pressed, and flew at Tam with fury settle. But little was she Maggie's mettle, ye spring brocht off for Maester Hale, but left behind her ain grey tail. The carlin clocked her by the rump, and left poor Maggie scarce a stump. Now, all this tale the truth shall read. Out man and mother's son, tak heed. Whene'er to drink you're inclined, or cutty sacks run in your mind, think ye may buy the joys of her dear. Remember, Tam O'Shanter's mare.
And danced all the size man, and milk and white rice on my hoon. I wish you luck at the prize man. The deals of war, the deals of war, the deals of war, the size man. He's danced a war, he's danced a war, he's danced a war, the size man. We'll make a malt, we'll brew, a drink, we'll laugh, sing and rejoice, man. And money call banks of the mickle black deal, a dance to war, the size man. The deals of war, the deals of war, the deals of war, the size man. He's danced a war, he's danced a war, he's danced a war, the size man. We'll live all days and then they come behind. Let them do the like and spend the gear they win. Hey, get through, for we hey muckle a do. Hey, get through, for we hey muckle a do. The deals of war, the deals of war, deals of war, the size man. He's danced a war, danced a war, danced a war, the size man. The deals of war, the deals of war, deals of war, the size man. He's danced a war, he's danced a war, he's danced a war, the size man.
Mr. Chairman, sir, ladies and gentlemen, Rotarians, it's an absolute honour to be invited here today. I'm not as busy as our two gentlemen here today doing the Burn scene, but I have been at one or two lately. First of all, I spoke at the Berlin ex-inmates Society. I then followed that up with the LGTB Society in Carlisle. So for those of you who are hearing me for the third time, I apologise. In 1979, I went into Martin's garage, and this shows you how bad, I worked with Hastings fertiliser at the time, and I went in to fill up with petrol, and the late Edward Martin, past Rotarian, come running out, and it's on a Wednesday. And Edward came running out and said, "Phone your dad." And I says, "Phone my dad about what?" And he says, "My guest speakers let me do." And I says, "Right." So I went in to lock 278 phone, and my dad says, "I'm doing nothing tonight. Does he want me?" Well, you'd think Eddie Martin had just died and gone to heaven. So my dad came down, did a speech at the Rotary that night, and this is retribution for 1979. Because, and he's no here tonight, and I wish him a speedy recovery, but the famous Pete the Beat decided to give my old man the grilling of a lifetime. Pete's inimitable style of questioning, which is not what one would call subtle. Anyway, Pete, you're getting it between the eye and new. I met Pete 2 weeks after that. He's walking down the street with a big bandage in his head. And I says, "What the heck happened to you, Peter? You get kicked with a coup, or you get hit with a horse or something?" He says, "I got it playing golf." "How the hell do you get that playing golf?" He says, "I'm out on the 13th at Thornhill, scalps my drive straight into the field, right in there. There's a woman, she's further on, she's scalped her second shot into the field. Anyway, I'm looking about for my ball, and there's a coup, fair humpy back, fair bent over. So he says, "I've got the thermometer with me." So I goes over to the coup, lifts up the tail, put the thermometer in, and there's a golf ball. Now he says, "I'm playing with a Titleist 2, and this is Evan Lock 65 number 3. So I called the woman down. She comes down, says, "What?" I lifts up the coos tail. I says, "Does that look like yours?" And she hit me on the head with a golf "Oh, nature swears the lovely dear, of noblest work she classes all. Her apprentice hand, she tried her man, and then she made the lassies." So we're going to kind of delineate the lassies. So L for lassies, liberated. There was an old lad in Thornhill complained for his work the other day, and he walks in, and there's the missus parading about the kitchen table. And he says, "What are you doing?" She says, "I'm liberated. I've bumped my bra. I'm now a woman." And he says, "It's a fair improvement. It fair takes the wrinkles out your neck." No further went out to Durrisdeer. There's the herd walking out with a tilly lamp. Where are you going with a tilly lamp? I think I'm made of money. I think I'm going Michael Bond all this money to file a tilly lamp. He says, "I'm going to look for a wife." I says, "Well, I didn't need a tilly lamp when I went to look for a wife." And he says, "Aye, look at the one you got." The one I love, Bingy, my next door neighbour for years, went to buy a new bull at Carlisle, and Netta wasn't happy because she wanted a new Subaru. But they got this new bull 10,000 guineas, and they got it up to Bingy, and he's got Jim Kirk and Fi Milligan and all these other folk in to look at this 10,000 guinea bull, and they're all looking at it. And then I think it was probably Wullie Wallace. Claude, he went in and he says, "No offence, Jim, but that bull's cross-eyed." Bloody hell, right enough, bull. So the phone's beat the bait. Out he comes. He says, "Not a problem." He gets a glass file out, sticks it up the bull's rear end, and goes, 200 guineas. So Bingy says, I can't wait to do next time that happens. So, the bull went about doing what bulls do. Until one day, Wullie Dem came in and says, that bull's wondering about the clothes clogging into the wall, banging into the doors. He says, all right, 200 guineas the last day. So, gets it into the byre, bit of alkathene pipe, gets net out for the house, sticks the alkathene pipe where it's supposed to go, and says, right, you go up the front and see. So, nothing. Nothing. So he says, Netta, you come down if I go, I'm right out of puff. So Netta walks round the back, pulls the pipe out, turns it round, puts it back in. He said, what the hell are you doing? Netta says, do you think I'm going to blow up the end? You dirty girl. Ellie, he is always right. And how come, gentlemen, we are always wrong? Always wrong. I get him one night after a burnt supper, having wined well but not wisely. That's what I might say. And as I'm walking up the path, there's a duck. So, oh, there's a duck. So I picked the duck up, and I get to the door and try and get the key in, and then the door opens. And I went, hello, dog. And she says, where'd you get the pig? I says, pig? It's not a pig, it's a duck. She says, I was speaking to the duck. So she decided to give me a big fright. Came home for another burn supper. Yet again, stoning in the door. And she dressed up as the devil. So there she is with the horns and the black and the trident and everything. And she says, I stoats in the door. Who the hell are you? She says, I'm the devil. And I'm here to tell you to mend your ways. And I says, I'm off a place to meet you. I married your sister. How come no matter what we do, we're aye right? And you'll know this person, Kate. There's a famous sheriff in Stranraer called James Henry Smith. He was warned by his wife prior to the Christmas party at Stranraer Sheriff Court not to get as drunk as he got the year before. He said, don't worry, my dear, not a problem. He says, I will be absolute sober as a judge. You are a judge, you get. Anyway, next morning he wakes up with a head like a stair head. And there's the wife standing at the end of the bed with a suit. And down the front of the suit is vomit. So she says, do you care to explain this, Your Honour? And he says, I can explain that, no problem. I come out the court after the party, and a drunk bumped into me, and was sick all down my front, but he's appearing in front of me on Monday morning, and I shall give him 30 days. And she says, well, you better give him 60 days, because he shit your trousers around. Then we get to the third day. It's got to be sensible and married to a school teacher. The only good thing about being married to a school teacher is after sex, they always say that was nearly right, but do you want to try it again? She was going round the class one day at Wallace Hall, excuse me, and she said to this wee girl, and what would you like to be when you grow up? I'd like to be a nurse. And can you spell nurse? N-U-R-S-E, nurse. Well, snottery Johnny, you know, the one with the ears hanging out through his snores. He's going, miss. Oh, shit, no. So then she says, Wullie, what would you like to be? I would like to be a joiner. And can you spell joiner? J-O-N-E-R. Joiner. Very well done, snottery Johnny. Oh, miss, hoi, hoi, you listen. Still ignoring him. Thomas, what would you like to be? I'd like to be a sheet metal worker. Oh, right, and can you spell sheet metal worker? Yes, I can. S-H-I-T, stop. Try again. S-H-I-T, stop. Tell you what, you go round the back of the blackboard and you write sheet metal worker on it. So he says, snottery Johnny. Hey, 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 miss, you listening to me? Right, Johnny, what would you like to be? I want to be a bookie. Right. You want to be a turf accountant? No, I want to be a bookie, and I'll lay you 10 to 1 he's written shit in the back of that one. But you say they're sensible. When we first get married, she says, I'll make you a special treat for your tea tonight. I said, great, that's marvellous. So I came home, and there's this great big long tart, like that. I said, what the hell's that? She says, it's a rhubarb tart. I said, my mother never made a rhubarb tart that shape. She said, don't blame me, that was the length of the bloody rhubarb. Then you get to silly, and they are silly. I remember, you'll have to excuse my using his nickname, Nickersdoon Brown. And he says, you know, you wouldn't believe what I get in the surgery every day. The lassie came in and asked me for contraceptive pills. You want what? She says, I want contraceptive pills. He says, lassie, you are ignorant. She says, yeah, 3 months. And my wife did a parachute jump for charity. And she jumped out the plane. And as she's hurtling towards the ground, tugging away at all these damn things, and nothing's happening. And as she's heading towards the earth, she meets a guy coming up. Oh, that's a bit strange. So as they're about to meet, she shouts, do you ken aught about parachutes? And he says, no, do you ken aught about gas ovens? As Ian has rightly said, my late dad was the Reverend James. And he always told me, when we get to the intelligence bit, he says, avoid religion. I thought, stop it now. And as you are well aware, ladies, there's a lot of ladies now in the cloth, as one might say. So my dad was saying at this ecumenical conference he attended, he went up to this one particularly frosty-faced woman with the gold collar on and said, so, what do you think about ladies in the clergy? Don't ask me. Don't ask me. Ask God, she'll tell you. At the same ecumenical conference, it came round to lunchtime, we were all having drinks. And my dad's standing with a priest, and we Free Kirk minister be up in Outer Ochtermuchty somewhere. So, drinks come round, the priest says, oh, I'll have a pint of lager. Father says, I'll have a small sherry, please. And the Free Kirk minister, the Isle of Lewis or whatever it was, says, drink! Drink! I'd rather commit adultery! And the priest put his pint back and says, I didn't ken there was a choice. All that went into the old Victoria Infirmary. I picked up the list because there was no nurses about. Got him in for a busy day. RC, RC, P, 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 RC, P, P, P. So he was round all the ones. He says, come back out, and the nurses were right back. And he said, it's a wee bit of an imbalance today, RC, RC, P. I said, I visited all the P's. She says, you silly old bugger. Rice Krispies or porridge. But we're going to talk nice about the ladies now. Eventually we do, Kate. They've got the insurance to put up with us men. I remember showing her, she told me there was this one wee boy in the class at Wallace Hill this day, and he's sitting a bit of chewing. And there's nothing worse than somebody sitting on. So eventually she turned around and said, Jonathan, cease masticating. And he took his hands out of his pockets and said, we're going to go back to Auchenbingy again. Sorry. Jim shouts in to Netta, phone the vet. Poor old Pete the Beat's getting it the night. She said, phone the vet, there's a cat here that's no whale. So, she phones Pete the Beat. Because Pete being the usual half deep, he thought she said calves. So, he says, get a pint of castor oil and I'll be up in the afternoon. So he duly arrives up at the fair and said, right, where's this calf? And Netta says, it's no a calf, it's a cat. Oh, he says, bloody hell. You didn't get a pint of castor oil. She said, well, a hell of a job, but we got it up the sleeve of a jacket. And we got a funnel, and we got the pint of castor oil in it. And Pete says, where the hell's the cat now? He says, it's up on the hill with 9 of its pals. It's 9 of its pals. He says, aye, 3 digging, 3 filling, and 3 looking for fresh grunt. I've been a shepherd on the hills for 40 years and more. I'm not as young as I used to be, but I'm thin over here. But still I carry on, although I must confess, I couldn't do it all myself without the help of Jess. See, there she goes over the midden dyke and up the heathery brae. Skelping after a wean of sheep shall no allow to stray. See how she guides them down the burn, where grows the watercress. Me, I just stand and whistle whiles and lay it all to Jess. Aye, but now poor Jess is failing. She's getting all like me. She's breaking now, and deep a bit, and trembling at the knee. And so I've just been thinking, if I have to fool this shepherd's life, I'll have to get myself a dog for Jess to see's the wife. We finally celebrate our lovely ladies. And who better than Robert Burns? My love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. My love is like a melody that's sweetly played in tune. Will you gone to the Heelans, Lizzie Lindsay? Will you gone to the Heelans with me? Will you gone to the Heelans, Lizzie Lindsay? My pride and my sweetheart to be. You banks and braes of Bonnydoon, how can we bloom so fresh and fair? How can you chant, you little birds, and I say full of care? Flow gently, sweet Afton, among my green braes, and flow gently, I'll sing a song in thy praise. My Mary's asleep by thy murmuring stream. Flow gently, sweet Afton, disturb not her dream. There was a lass, and she was fair. Aye, at Lat and Market she was seen. When all our forest moors were met, the forest moors was Bonnie G. Husband, husband, cause you strife, no longer idly rave, son. Though I am but your wedded wife, I am not your slave, sir. Gentlemen, remember those words of Robert Burns, and can I ask you to be outstanding? Bring the toast to the lasses.
At noon the fisher
That hour when daily search to fail, when public works begin to scale, the workers homeward wend their way, content with what they've earned that day. When shops draw blinds and douse the licht, their doors all padlocked, snug and tight. 'Tis then hell's gates are open wide, and Ruthie Moose can fast inside. The horns and faces merged with grease, the limbs fu decked in dungarees. They ca' their run, they drink it straight. Let wife, let wains, let supper wait. Each day when weary toil was through, man was foremost in the queue. The sailor drink, they ne'er begun it, when through the door came, damn the bunnet. Oh, damn, would you but stop to think how much you are a slave to drink? Time after time had you been warned, but sage advice ye sneered and scorned. Even had been kent to laugh when folk called you a drunken yaff. Let lesser men collect their stamps, or mess about with wood and clamps. Let others garden, bull or fish, or paint and paper if they wish, or even print photos in the lobby. Pubs and drinking was your hobby. At home, your paired and meant it wife had tried to change your ways of life. With anguished heart and bended knees, she'd cry, "Lay off before you get DTs." Alas, poor wife, your wisest word is ta'en as being quite absurd, like seeds that sowed and rocks that wither, gone in one ear, aye, and out the other. But to her tale, a Friday on the stroke of 5, Tam grabbed his pie and made a dive, and at the pub as I was first to cuff his cash and quench his thirst. There followed fast upon his heel a figure that he kent fu' weel, with ferret face and middle shed, his pal and confidant, wee Red. Wee Red, an expert at the shirking, had sworn an oath against ever working, an oath he kept fu' staunch and true, 'twa decades he'd been on the brew. Works for fools was Red's avowance, as he blatantly drank the wain's allowance. And so this night from Red and Tam, together on the nichly dram. The clock sped on with warning tick, but Tam, he didn't care a hick. Wee Red was filling in his lugs, exciting tales of racing dugs. They'd drink as long as they were able, so they would meet below the table. But though some moors will live sublime, nae man can ever harness time, and even though we try to duke it, tempest still will always fidget. And even though he'll lose the stuff, damn soon you lose, he'd had enough. Through his veins the whisky veered, it slurred his speech, his sicht it blared. The flare beneath him seemed to stoke like porridge boiling in a pot. But what was surely worst of all, where Red had stood, there now stood twa. On rubber legs he crossed the floor and crashed it through the swinging door. Outside the storm was at its height. It was a real Scotch summer's night. The wind that blew as if to tack the shirt and waistcoat off your back. The icy, cold, torrential rains were fast a-flowing, protesting drains. Ahint the pub, against the dyke, Tam fun his rusty, trusty bike. And soon was pedalling through mud and mire to hame and supper by the fire. Oh. See the bloody potholes. Jim Dempster, get the potholes fixed. Let wind and water do its worst. Tam pedalled on and mildly cursed. The whisky warm within him glowed. He couldn't gie a damn it snowed. Like athletes striving for a medal, Tam turned an unreal pent and pedal. The bike flew the ancient streets, past police on their night shift beats, past chippy shops with their greasy wares and couples winching on the stairs, past newsboys cutting fancy capers as they tried to flog the next day's papers. Ignoring all the passing sights, ignoring all the traffic lights, Tam sped his rubber tire wheels as if all Nick was on his heels. Nae thought that he on the kind as busy tune left behind, then out onto the country road that led him to his ain abode. Oh, about was drab and bare as he approached Red Giles Square. Now on this spot in years gone by, rogues and thieves hung out to die. Nae man in sober sense or sane this haunted road would e'er attain, but Tam with whisky fuddled heed feared not the living nor the dead. Against the stories always cried, brave Tam was duly fortified. Nae gaister bogle or the like would dare catch him on his bike. Besides, Nae spirits, he presumed, could match the ones he just consumed. But as he pedalled through the night, the place around was bathed with light. Frae the thorny hedge of wind, there came a hellish heathen din. With frick, poor damn near drap it did, his hair it curled upon his head, his face unto an ashen hue, for there before his very view, a sight as ne'er by mortal seen, he scarcely could believe his own. Now, just imagine if you can, an every dance conceived by man, but instead of lightsome, livesome dancers, there were leaping, louping, loathsome prancers. Well, this Tam saw to his dismay, his courage quickly drained away, and there he stood and quaked with fear. Nae mortal gathering was here. Tam eyed the dancers one by one, as down his spine the cold sweat ran. A bookie, wha had run away, 6 favourites had won that day, was louping there without his trews, and on his feet were horses' shoes. A factor who'd nae repair, Tony house within his care, was being burrowed off his feet by a wife had thrown into the street. Now there, 'twa well-kent lugs, who'd made a fortune doping dugs. With whipping paw outside hair was chasing this exhausted pair. Another Ian was sleek at Sanny, a spilt boy who'd slashed his granny. They hitched, they reeled, they paddy barred, and partner stays, they came down hard. Watched over by musical director, a one-time income tax inspector. Tam stood like one who'd been in trance and round about the shiver glass. The piper struck another tune, and all went one and all went prancing round. 'Twas then the piper Tam could see a police sergeant, R.I.P., the one who lifted Tam and off a thing gumming up against the wall. With muckle zest and frantic squeals, they danced the complicated rails, their legs and arms with vicious sweats got tearing time into the pipes. They worked themselves to frantic state as faster grew the rate. Depravity stumped every face. This was the scum of the human race. Hoodlums, wasters, pimps and tramps, gangsters, mobsters, shysters, camps, rogues and thieves, and worse to tell, drunkards, just like Tam himself. The music suddenly crescended. Tam thought the dancing must be ended, for all the mob cavorting there withdrew and left the centre bare. And far before had been elation, there came an air of expectation. The piper paused, one breath, no more, then stirred it louder than before. And frae the throats of all and sundry, there came a murmur, rolling, thundering. Out there trooped in legs like stilts, 5 Jill bottles, dressed in kilts. And time to piper's furious tune, they started bobbing up and down. Like living things they pranced about, till all their corks come popping out. And precious whisky they'd confined was back to Mother Earth consigned. Poor Tam, before he never faced such flagrant, wanton, dire waste, his very soul he'd gladly shook for what was spilling out of the muck. Before he could his thoughts repair, another dancer took the flare, and from the cheer from fearful faction, there surely was the star attraction. Tam's e'en stuck out like organ stops, for there then cantrips, jives and hops, was his sworn enemy of war, Old Hatchet-Face, his mother-in-law. Well, she kicked and flung in acrobatics, gone was her stiffness, her rheumatics, and many verbal battles lost, his mother-in-law poor Tam had crossed. There were even times in black despair he felt like throwing her down the stair. But here this night, his ain way small, surpassed hersel abin them all. Repentance flowed, Tam gied a yell, that's it all in, gone yoursel. The music ceased, the lists went toot, then after Tam in hot pursuit, that devilish horde with devilish bead come on, Big Bella in the lead. Tam leapt his bite the wheels of spun, and left like bull like frae a gun. He thought was foremost in his mind to duke the roaring mob behind. And if his wind could last the pace, then Tam he knew the very place, some 12 miles down the road and in, which if he'd pass, he knew he'd win. For Bella, the thirsty gub, had never been known to pass a pub. The spokes grew red-hot on his wheels, The mob pressed hard upon his heels. And just when Tam the mare could try his hollow spot, the pub flew by. Big Bella gave a desperate snatch, but Tammy's jacket couldn't catch. So he escaped the savage crater, but left behind his tire inflator. This tale is true, its morals clear. If you drink whiskey, gin or beer, whenever you feel your thirst is slaked, only half before you get half jaked. Remember Shanter's mare's bald rump. Remember Tam the bonnet's pump. And should you drink on at this juncture, God help you if you have a puncture.
Fare thee well, my one true love. Farewell for a while. I'm going away, but I'll be back. Though I go 10,000 miles, 10,000 miles, my own true love. 10,000 miles or more, the rocks may melt and the seas may burn, if I should not return. Oh, don't you see that lonesome dove sitting on yon ivy tree? She's weeping for her own true love, as I shall weep for mine. Oh, come ye back, my own true love, and stay a while with me. If I had a friend all on this earth, you have been a friend to me. Fare thee well, my own true love. Farewell for a while. I'm going away, but I'll be back. Though I go 10,000 miles.
Kate was born, raised, went to school, and she worked a lot of her life in Dumfries and Galloway. She lives in Dumfries with her husband and is retired after 33 years as a police officer. The last 2.5 years of service were Assistant Chief Constable with responsibility for policing across 9 local authorities in the east of Scotland. In 2011, she graduated from Stirling University with an MSc in Strategic Leadership and was awarded the Queen's Police Medal in the 2016 New Year's Honours list. Kate has not sat back since she retired, but has made good use of her experience of her supervisory and senior management work. She has undertaken the role of independent chair of East Ayrshire Child Protection Committee and the Dumfries and Galloway Public Protection Committee. Kate was also a contributor in our Zoom meeting 2 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, Kate Thomson.
I've waited all night for this, can I tell you. Chairman, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, it falls to me, your allocated lassie for the evening, to take up the challenge of replying to Ian's toast and also some of the other comments that have been made here tonight. I would have to say, we started off with the guests. I do think it's been a little bit sexist, but it's now been explained why it's not. I don't know if you've noticed all the guys have wee mics, no. But Claire and I don't. Well, but Claire and I didn't need mics, and I kind of said, well, that's a wee bit much. You obviously want to hear what the guys have got to say, but know that fussed about what the girls. So actually, if you think Bobby Susanka, Cumnock, Aaron, they need translators. So, what a great toast Ian's was. Articulate, accomplished, witty, classy, all words you wouldn't normally associate with Ian Currie. Before I start, ladies, I'm sure you'll agree with me when I say men are great. I just couldn't eat a whole one at once. Robert Burns said, a gaudy dress and a gentle air may slightly touch the heart, but it's innocence and modesty that polishes the dart. So unlike all the other speeches and toasts you've heard tonight, this dart will probably hit the mark. Clearly Ian realised I would be nervous tonight and wanted to give me some encouragement, and so I'd like to send a further thank you for the lovely flowers that arrived at my house late this afternoon. Ian, they're beautiful, although I'd have to say a wreath is a bit unusual. Just before I go on, I must thank Gordon Lawson for asking if I'd reply on behalf of the lassies. Gordon's some guy, isn't he, sitting there at the back. He sees himself as a very modern man, snappy wee dresser. Only the other night he said to his lovely wife, May, my darling, if you could change one thing about me, what would that be? May barely pause for breath before replying, your underwear, it's disgusting. And I found it really interesting that in Ian's introduction of Wullie there, he said that his interests are shooting clays. My advice to you is I'd go out and shoot that suit as soon as we get out of here. It was a Burns was a gifted poet who waxed lyrically about the differences between men and women, often kinder to the ladies, and I wanted to make sure that we all understood in here what the differences are. I'm glad I'm a woman. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I don't live off football, rugby, beer nuts or spam. I don't brag to my pals about my erections, and I won't drive to hell before I ask for directions. I don't get wasted at parties and act like a clown, and I know how to put the damn toilet seat down. I won't grab your boobs, I won't nip your butt. My belt buckle's not hidden beneath my beer gut. I don't go around readjusting my crotch or yell like Tarzan when my headboard gets a notch. I don't burp in public, I don't scratch my behind. I'm a woman, you see. I'm just not that kind. I'm so relieved Willie Dick was able to make it here tonight after that terrible fire in his family home. For those of you who haven't heard about it, the main seat of the fire appears to have been in his library. As I look round, I can see a few surprised faces, and yes, I was surprised as well, surprised that he even owned a book, let alone a library. And Willie was telling me at the interval that it was devastating that he lost his whole collection of books, all 2 of them. And to make matters worse, he hadn't even finished colouring one of them in. For several weeks, Bobby Jess's lovely wife Mary had been asking him to paint the wooden toilet seat. Finally Mary gave up, and while Bobby was out doing one of his many walks, Mary thought, I'll just do it myself. And after she finished painting it, she went away out for a walk. Bobby came back in before Mary got back in, undressed to take a shower. Before getting in the shower, he sat in the toilet. So he tried to stand up. It was clear that the not quite so dry paint had glued into the toilet seat. About that time Mary got home and realised his predicament. They then, between them, pushed and pulled and desperately tried to get this toilet seat off Bobby. Couldn't manage to dislodge him. Finally, in desperation, Mary manages to undo the wooden top toilet seat from the main base and wrap him in a towel and drive him to DGRI. When she got to the A&E, got him in a position where the doctor could study how to free him. Just get that image in your head of the scene of the night. Bobby tried, a bit embarrassed, tried to lighten the embarrassment at the moment. He says, well, doctor, I bet you've never seen anything like this before. And the doctor replied, actually, I've seen lots of them, I've just never seen one mounted and framed. Robert Burns remains one of the most famous people, and his influence and fame is as obvious now as ever. After Queen Victoria and Christopher Columbus, Robert Burns has more statues dedicated to him than any other non-religious figure. J.D. Salinger's novel Catcher in the Rye based the title on the poem by Robert Burns, Coming Through the Rye. The Burns song My Heart is in the Highlands was adopted by the Chinese resistance fighters in the Second World War. His poem A Red, Red Rose has influenced a few major artists like Bob Dylan and the Proclaimers. And his work has appeared in hundreds of films, including It's a Wonderful Life, When Harry Met Sally, and believe it or not, Sex and the City. He's also the first person ever to have featured on a commemorative bottle of Coca-Cola in 2009. Well, gentlemen, hopefully you're much better informed now about some of your foibles. As a close, I wish to leave you with a final thought. Just think, if it wasn't for friendship, marriage and partnerships, you men would go through naively believing you had no faults at all. However, as Claire said earlier in one of the songs, there's ne'er a flower that blooms in May that's half as welcome as thou art. So ladies, if I can ask you to raise your glasses to the main lad, Robbie Burns, and the laddies here tonight. The laddies.
Can't stand sitting for that long.